Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the eAF Q&A clinic. Apologies for having to have rescheduled this timing. We had an overlap this morning with the IRIS webinar, and we felt that it is better for everybody if we have two distinguished times for these important sessions, because they both impact applicants for marketing authorizations. So today we have agenda that is mainly for the questions and answers, but we will also give a little demo on feature that has just been deployed into production last night, and I'll have a couple of slides on a few other important notes. So this is a slight diversion of our normal Q&A session. Also, please note that we have added already questions from a previous sessions that we did not have time to answer during the training sessions. So there are already quite a few questions ready in Slido. Please note that you can upvote these questions. If there are something that you would really like to have answered during this session, please just upvote. But as usual, you can always, of course, ask new questions by typing in Slido. We also have inserted in Slido some questionnaires regarding future training sessions, where you can indicate what type of training would be useful for you. But here you can find the details of the Slido. I'd like to highlight that the session is recorded. The recording will be made available, and we will, of course, have a Q&A document available, and we will be adding more questions into the Q&A document where necessary and needed. And of course, some of these questions are things that are also highlighted in our user guide that is also published on the PLM portal and on the eSubmissions website. Here. So I just wanted to draw your attention to a new timeline. Just from yesterday, we have moved into a strongly recommended use of the web-based eAF for all variations. So of course, the use for centrally authorized products has been strongly recommended already for about a year and a half, since May 2024. But we are now also in strongly recommended use for all non-centrally authorized variation applications, so MRP, DCP, and purely national. And what does the strongly recommended means? It means that you should use the PLM portal web-based eAF in most cases. Of course, the interactive PDF is still available, but ideally it should only be used if there are specific constraints that prevent you to use the web-based application form. So that may be technical issues or missing features. This could be product data issues. But mainly you should aim to use the web-based form as much as possible. You move to the next slide. And then, as I mentioned, I wanted to give a very quick demonstration, which is something slightly different than what we normally do in the Q&A sessions, but to show you how to use our updated product selection feature. This is something that was deployed into production just last night. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is the PLM portal. And this is if you create a brand new application, just quickly new product selection. And then when you select your MAH, and I want to show how the form looks slightly different when you open the form. So in the past, at this point, you would be presented with an empty screen with the button saying select a product. Now we're opening directly into this product grid. Today you still have this show 10 rows as a default, but we are amending this. So very soon you will also notice here that you will be defaulted to 100 rows or 50 rows. Now I have to check what we requested. However, it will be a larger number than just 10 rows. You can already directly add some detail here. So for example, if you only want to get centrally authorized products, you can type European Union. You could already start by adding the product name, authorized dose form, and you will then click the search button. But you don't need to go into that empty page first to launch the product selection. And then you will get the list of the products that you wish to select. You can easily just tick, just like in the past, or maybe you have performed a search and you want to select all of the products, and you can select them on a high level. Once you have selected, you will then, of course, click Save. And while that saving of the products is happening, I will show you what happens if you are opening a form that has already selected products. So you come to this view. The products that you have already selected are listed. So again, you don't need to go to another kind of window. You can look at the details of the products that have been selected. You can also add more products by clicking View Available Products, and you get back into the screen where you would search for the product. So if I again launch a search, and I will get a list of products of which I can select from, like so. I can then view the selected product. So now here you can see I've selected this one product here, and you can see the line is green. When I click here, View Selected Products, I can see this product that I have selected, which is this green product, and the products that I had selected earlier. I can then only view the added products, which means is the products that I have saved for this application form. So now, when I click here, I get a question that there are unsaved changes, which is this green row. I did not yet save this product on this row into the form, so I could discard this and just save and view the products that I have previously added, or I can click and save. And then while the product is being saved into the application form, we will get this maintenance pop-up while we can wait for those products to be added into the form. Should only take a moment. And then we can see that product now here on the list. You can see it there. We haven't changed any of the association with the MRP number. I have already added it here, so we didn't get the red message. And because the product that I just added here was a centrally authorized products, we also don't have the MRP number. Another thing that I also wanted to demonstrate very quickly is the change that was deployed into production last Thursday evening. This is an improvement in the proposed changes section. So in here, in the proposed changes, if we go to add changes or edit changes, in this case, I have already added something into the form. So here I have added one section. If I add another section to the form, let's call this test AA, and I click done. I can now order these sections by moving this section up like so. And when I print this form or to export this form, I can then see that this section is actually in that PDF, it appears first. So minor refresh issue there that, and now we have seen. or perhaps it's that centrally authorized product that is giving us a little trouble there now. If I move back here and I export the form, we can see that those changes will be reflected in the PDF. Hopefully that won't take too long. This is just to quickly show you that we have implemented some changes since our latest training session. And as we don't have one planned now immediately, we felt that it's important that users are aware of these changes. So in here now, when we look at the, actually, I will need to stop sharing because you won't see the PDF if I just open it there. And you can now see the changes that we have implemented. Firstly, here I'll show another change. We have ordered the products in section 2 based on the member state. We have another column that then leads the selection, which is the MA holder name, and then the MA number. So these are now ordered more logically. Now it's easier to find for each particular MRP number, for example, the products, because all the products, for example, from Lithuania are listed in the same place. Like so, but what I wanted to show here is that the test AA section that I moved to the top is now here, and the test 1A that I had created before has moved lower down. So you can order these as you prefer. We've also gained more space here because we've lost that box that just said text, and we've moved this, now the label of the section is visible in the form. And while we're here, I also wanted to mention something related to the annual notifications and annual updates. So currently we do not have a tick box in the form. I know there has been a lot of questions. How do I indicate in the application form that this is an annual update or annual report or annual notifications? It has multiple different names. This is the section where you should include the details about the annual update. So for supergrouping affecting several medicinal products, you will add the details in this background section. So I will finish the demo here, and we can look at some of the slides where I also wanted to mention a few of the things that will be soon coming. So here, so that was the updated functionality. I've just demoed it. So it just makes adding and deleting products easier and more intuitive. There will be some improvements coming in 2 weeks' time. So the default search will be updated from 10 products to either 50 or 100. This is we need to confirm. And then we will also be displaying the number of products that have been selected in the form at the bottom of the screen. We know that there is currently a known limitation. So if you have added a lot of products by accident and you wish to then delete multiple products at one go, the multi-selection in the view selected products is not, the button is currently missing. So you're not able to do that. So you will have to delete the product row, select the products row by row for deletion, but adding the products, the selection button is available. We can go to the next slide. So this is the reordering of the sections that I've just displayed. So we can go to the next slide. And this is the annual updates or the annual notification. So information related to the annual notification for centrally authorized products can be found from the post-authorization guidance on the EMA website. Question number 4 has this detail relating to the annual updates. So you should reflect that in the cover letter and in the background and justification for grouping. So here you can find the details for Type 1A annual updates. The cover letter and eAF should clearly identify the submission as a Type 1A annual update. We can move to the next slide. And just to mention a few, let's say, exciting upcoming features and changes. So as mentioned before, we will have the support for the versioning. So today we have, you've noticed there's a new field called default. We will be soon changing the name of default into the current form version, and then when the new variation classification version will become available, you will also be able to select that option from the list when you are creating a new form. We are also making it possible in present and proposed to indicate that you are deleting an organization, and we are also making a change where you are creating a form and you are selecting the name of the reference MAH, so you will be getting an option to select the name directly from OMS, which will unblock some users that have been up to now unable to use the web-based form because of the limitations that we have with the OMS data in the IRIS dataverse where we retrieve this data from. And I think that was it with the features. We have maybe some other slides, but I think for now we'll go to the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Christina. I'll be sharing the Q&A. Okay, great. So we have the first question that asks, can you explain again how to sign eAF with Adobe Scan signature and submit it when required by EU authorities? And what should be done for EMA if MAH wants to sign the form?
Good question. So there in the application form, so when you have finished filling in the application form and you have an MAH who wishes to have a copy that contains an Adobe signature, or has to provide an Adobe signature because you as an applicant do not have a qualified signature tool, so you cannot add another signature after the EMA's integrity stamp from the system. You will simply export the form before you finalize the form. In the exported form, the integrity stamp is not included, or you may wish to finalize first and then reopen the form and just export the form, and then you can add an Adobe signature into the signature field. And if additionally, you may wish to include the version with the integrity stamp. So in that case, you would include the form with the integrity stamp as the eAF. And if there is a need for a signed version, you can simply save the signed version of an annex as an annex to the application form. So you will provide this in the ECTD section 1.2 for the application form, and you indicate that this is an annex, a signed application form. If for the EMA, if the MAH wants to sign the form, it is really sufficient to use the integrity stamp. So EMA doesn't currently require a signature. So if you have finalized the form from the system, it is sufficiently signed for us. So you don't need to add a signature. If you wish to add a signature after the integrity stamp, please add a qualified digital signature.
Thank you, Christina. Let's go to the next question. One of our contact persons is a freelancer. The previous existing OMS account was deactivated because local contacts can be entered manually in PDF eAF. How should we include this contact in web-based eAF as company is a mandatory field?
So if you want to have a local contact, you can you would add this as a contact person. So it depends if you want this. Now I realize what this question is. Is the person is not affiliated to any specific company. So I think we have had this issue in the past. So this is really a limitation in OMS. I would suggest that in this kind of case, you will raise a query to OMS, and they will give you instructions how to proceed. Because if it is an OMS limitation, I think they have been looking at potentially changing that, but that's not really something that we can change from the EAF point of view. So please do raise a ticket for the OMS.
Thank you, Christina. So next one is, we'll be able to use PLM-based eAF for MR variations that are due to be submitted shortly after EOP of DCPs. For instance, when where known the RMS, neither any CMS AMA is granted. The valid pending NAT PH-X7PD status cannot be used in such cases now.
So basically, we realized that there was a slight, let's say, error in the connection to the pending national status products in the EAF. So we had mapped into a pending status and not to the pending national status. I think this is still an update that we are waiting to be fixed. It's not available at the moment, but you should soon be able to indeed select products for which the national phase is pending. You will be able to filter with that particular status. But currently, I think there was an incorrect mapping to a wrong field, unfortunately.
Thank you. Okay, next most voted one is to use a web-based EAF for purely national procedures agreed with all NCAs. Some HAs, for example Polish, require the application form in local language. How can this be approached at the mandatory stage?
So basically, the use of the application form for particular procedures or particular types of procedures does not change. We are simply replacing the interactive PDF form. And when we talk about mandatory use of the web-based application form or strongly recommended use of the web-based application form, it is strongly recommended for those cases where you would use the interactive PDF. So we're not replacing other types of national portals or national forms should they exist today. It just means that we are replacing the interactive PDF EAF application form with the web-based application form. So today, if we say it is mandatory to use the interactive PDF form for centralized procedure, it is now strongly recommended to use the web-based application form for centralized procedures. So we're not replacing national forms for example, for Poland, should they have one.
Thank you, Christina. Next one. Does the NCAs contact the MAHs directly if there are any problems or errors in sport data used in web-based EAF? If not, how are the errors handled, or does it result in further ECTD submissions?
So if there are issues with the sport data, in most cases, of course, the marketing authorization holder should spot these issues while you're filling in the form. So you realize that there is something incorrect in the product data in PMS. So you would then update your XEVMPD entry, which then updates the PMS data coming into the EAF. If you don't notice it, but the NCA realizes that you have submitted data that is incorrect, they may contact you to update XEVMPD to get the data in the EAF corrected. So there isn't kind of automated process, and I think it depends very much how large or active the NCA is in those cases. So I would say it is probably today very much case to case basis depending on the NCA. But of course, we would always suggest that you, as the marketing authorization holder, check that the entry is correct you correct the entry before submitting the application form to avoid any further ECTD submissions.
Thank you. So next question. The web-based eAF, will it become mandatory for MRP DCP, including UK as CMS, but also with UK registered nationally?
So it's a EU application form. I believe MHRA has their own UK form. So if there are procedures that contain products that are authorized in UK Northern Ireland, those products are of course automatically included in the scope. It is also possible to include products from the UK, purely national UK products into the form, as long as they have been submitted into the XEVMPD. So those products are available for selection. So, but from the kind of regulatory and procedural aspect point of view, please do check with the lead member state how these products should be submitted, whether you should use that form or the specific MHRA form.
Thank you, Christina. Next one is, can you add or delete co-authors once the form has been created?
You can indeed. At any point, you can add or delete co-authors.
Great. Can we use already submitted web-based eAF for new and other variation by updating the existing, or do we have to create new form every time?
In case submitting, if you wish to reuse the data that you have already entered in an application form, we strongly recommend that you would clone the form as opposed to reopening a form that you have already submitted and then reusing that same form for another procedure. Why I'm saying that is because if you then receive a request to update the original form at some point of the procedure, and you've already used that same form for another procedure, you may then it may lead into discrepancies in the first procedure. So absolutely, and we always recommend, it is good to create in a way these templates that you can use for different purposes, but always clone the template. Use the cloning functionality of the form to create a specific form for each specific procedure. So in case you need to update any of the forms that you have already submitted, it makes it much, much easier. And that's why we have created this cloning capability. It is a bit like if you think back into the interactive PDF, saving it as a template that you can then always reuse for another purposes and save with a different name. And this is how you would do when you're cloning a form.
Thank you, Christina. Next one, once exported to PDF, how should be the eAF updated? Could the exported PDF be edited, or do we need to go back to the PLM portal?
No, you can never edit the exported PDF. This is because the PDF is not actually a PDF form, but it is a rendition that is created based on the XML, via XML that is attached to that form. So you always have to go back to the PLM portal, make the edits that you need, and then export again. Exporting is possible at any time. You can export the form as many times as you need to. And what we always recommend, especially if you are just getting familiar with using the portal, you can only fill in some parts of the application form. You can export it to see what you have entered. Then you can go back to the PLM portal, you export again, you repeat. You can do that as many times as you want. And once you are 100% certain that the content is correct, only then you finalize. And that form that is exported when you click the finalize button is the one that contains the integrity stamp. And after that, you can't anymore edit the form in the PLM portal. It moves into the completed tab. If you then realize once you have finalized the form that there was still a mistake or you would like to do another change, you simply go back to your tab for the completed forms and you reopen the form. It moves back to your drafts and you can continue re-editing that form.
Great, thank you. So next most upvoted question is if we only have one type IA in our annual update, justification for grouping becomes irrelevant, does it?
I think so. That's a little bit of a procedural question. This is more like a Q&A for technical aspects rather than procedural aspects. So in this case, I would recommend you check with your relevant regulator. But indeed, if there is it's a simple single update, you wouldn't need much justification.
Okay, thank you. So Greece, in product details, tab manum is visible. However, Greece HA have requested to use eAF product code in the eAF. The code remains unchanged throughout the life cycles of the PM. Can the eAF code be accommodated in eAF in place of MA number?
Yes, it can. Actually, I think we got this same question during one of our recent training sessions. And indeed, there is an allocation that when you're submitting Greek products into XEVMPD, you can choose to use either the MA number or this code. Both are possible and allowed to be entered in that field in XEVMPD. It is possible.
Thank you, Christina. On the first page, when you enter a friendly name, is this name shown only for me as the author?
So indeed, the friendly name is something that you give for the form so that you know what form it is. It could be the product name with the procedure number or something that identifies that particular application form. Anyone who has access to that particular application form will see the name. So let's imagine you are a manager and you create this form. If you don't invite other people to edit the form with you, there is a higher role. Normally, each organization has a coordinator role, and the coordinator has an explicit access to all application forms. So the coordinator would always see all of the forms, and they will also see the friendly name. So if you look at the tab application forms, the list of all application forms, the friendly name is used there.
Thank you, Christina. Super clear. Until when the PDF EAF will be available? Also, will the strongly recommended use will be converted to mandatory use for known caps?
Yes. So we are now already indeed in strongly recommended use for all types of forms, which today have been using the interactive PDF EAF. So we don't yet have a date when the form becomes mandatory. This is mainly because of the PMS data issues that are still there, and that in some cases, unfortunately, force us to ask you to use the interactive PDF. There are also some organizational issues or how OMS organization data is displayed in the eAF. So we have an intermediate data layer that is not updated as regularly as OMS, which sometimes leads into problems of selecting the correct organization in the eAF. These are the two main reasons why we cannot move towards mandatory use. We know that this is where we are aiming, and that's why we have moved to strongly recommended use. So it's possible that we will move into even more recommended use. So basically, if there is no technical blockage, you kind of must use the form. We haven't announced such date yet, but this is something that we are currently looking into doing in future if needed.
Thank you, Christina. Next one is currently additional contact points for procedure are not included, which leads the RMS applicant to receive NCA emails afterwards, even though they are not in the MA owner in the country, which is asking a question. Will these be changed?
So, so this must refer to centrally authorized products, I presume. Indeed, only one contact person can be included in the application forms when EMA is in the lead. This can be changed if there's a need for it. This isn't something that has been reflected as a need before. I would suggest that if this really is an issue, please raise a change request through the your trade associations, and we will be looking at that. And I can also, of course, discuss this with the EMA business. That is there a particular reason why the member states cannot be included into the application form? But this is indeed the common process for EMA-led procedures. For non-EMA-led procedures, you're allowed to add as many contact persons as needed.
Thank you, Christina. So we work with consultants in each EU country who manage our national products. If we provide them with an eAF contributor access, is it possible to restrict their access so that they can only see the products of their own country?
Currently, it is not possible to limit the access per product, except if the form has already been created and a co-author is invited to that particular form, then they will only see the products of that particular form. It requires, of course, somebody to go to that form and select the products. And in that case, they would the co-author can only add their own products into the form, but they can't see any other products in the form. If there is need for different kind of access or having a specific product specific access, again, this is a change request to our access module, and we would recommend that this is discussed at the trade association, and then a change request can be raised to the SMEs, so to be prioritized and implemented.
Next one up, we have noticed that not all member states involved in the procedure are appearing in the eAF dropdown. This may be due to incomplete data enrichment in PMS. Could you please advise on how to resolve this issue?
So I guess this would be either missing products, or is this a case where you have added a product, but the country of that product is not indicated in the CMS RMS CMS dropdown? In those kind of cases, if it seems to be more of a technical issue, please raise a ticket and we can look at that particular case. If it is a data issue, data enrichment issue, then please raise a ticket through the service desk for PMS, and we can have a look at that.
Thank you, Christina. If I have selected under product selection a wrong product by mistake, how can I delete it again?
That's a good question. I had hoped that I had showed that in the demo, and I realize now that perhaps I didn't. So let's go back to the application form, and I will very quickly demonstrate how to delete a product in the application form. So now in our improved model, so when we have this a list of selected products, I can simply untick, and you can see it has now a red cross, and I can then simply just click save. And then there's a refreshment process ongoing. And now only one product is included in this application form. So it's very simple. We can also then look at products that have been added into the form. If we then want to add another product, because maybe we took away the incorrect product, a product that we did not want to remove, we can search for products, we can add another product, can save. We can then view the selected products. At this point, this product is not yet selected, but I could maybe unselect this. So now we are using this color code. So in red, you will see the product that will be deleted, and in green, the product that will be added. And when I click, so you can see I'm removing the product that is a solution for injection in pre-filled pen, and I'm adding a product that is solution for injection, and I click save. And in just a moment, we'll be able to see the updated product data. Should not take too long. And there we can see now we have the product that is solution for injection selected, and we deleted the other one. So deletion is now as simple as just ticking the box, and it will be indicated with red tick. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Christina. I'll take back the screen to go back to our questions. You should see them now. Okay, so next one up is, will EMA be updating the list of NCAs which do not accept only the integrity stamp?
So we don't really have such a table. There is, however, a table on the CMDH website that lists the national requirements, and that table has been recently updated this summer to also reflect which countries require an additional signature. So perhaps it's a little bit in reverse from that question. So rather than who do not accept, but who do require additionally a form, a signed form. And then in order to include that signed form, we always recommend that you add that signed form as an annex to the application form, which means that in those cases, the NCA will receive the actual form with the integrity stamp, and they will receive another form that has a signature. If you do that, we always then recommend that you delete the XML attachment from the annex, because we don't want any receiving automation systems to get confused if there are two eAF XMLs in the package.
Thank you, Christina. How can you submit a type AI without an annual report if countries outside EU require an approval?
That is a procedural question. So it's not really on how to indicate annual report, for example, in the form. So in those cases, please contact your regulator, and they will provide you information how to do that.
Right. Can contributor applicants see all products when they are added as co-authors?
Yes, if somebody is a contributor, they can see all products, but it depends if they are invited. It depends the role they have for the other organization. So if you have, for example, a person who is a contributor for organization A, and they are invited as a co-author for an application form with the organization B, but the role that they have for their own organization is a contributor, but it is not automatically a contributor role for the organization B. They may only have co-author role for the organization B, in which case they can only see their own products. It really depends on the role affiliation. So it's very important to check what the role affiliation is for each company, but it is not automatically the highest level of role when you are co-authoring a form. It depends on the affiliation.
Thank you. Next one is how to proceed for MRP and DCP when not all national MAs have been granted yet, and we need to submit a variation. As only granted MAs are in XVMPD, how to include the pending MAs?
So this is something we had a question earlier. So unfortunately, we had a bit of a technical issue where we had unfortunately mapped into incorrect status in the eAF. So we were mapping to pending status as opposed to pending national status. So this will be corrected very soon. And after that, you will be able to retrieve and find from the PLM portal web-based eAFs products that have been authorized through MRP DCP, but are pending national phase.
Okay. Who can assign a contact person? Having a coordinator role, I tried and I was not able to.
Assign a contact person as in EMA Iris case management system or in the web-based application form. You don't assign a contact person in the eAF. You're simply typing a name of a person into the fields in the information section, procedural information section, and then you select the company from an OMS, and in fact you can select any organization. So I suspect that this question may relate to IRIS, a system where you are actually assigning a coordinator or selecting a coordinator from a registered users.
Okay, thank you. Before going to the next question, please consider I'm opening the feedback collection in here. Other than giving us your feedback on the session, which will help us in future session, you're also able to express what topics related to eAF or web-based eAF you want to get a deeper understanding of, and so giving us hints on where to concentrate in our future trainings. So please also leave us a feedback there. That would be super useful for us to help you in the future. Okay. That said, another question is, can you please show us the POP section, like how we populate fees details?
Sure. I can share my screen to include payment details. You should see my screen now. So we have this section. So there are, of course, certain rules. For example, for centralized procedure for type 1 variations, there is no fee, so you cannot add anything. But for non-cap applications, so here, proof of payment. So we have two different options, which you can use, of course, both in the same form. So all relevant fees have been prepaid to competent authorities. You click here, add payment details, and then you click yes. Well, it's actually already selected for the fees have been paid. You add details here. You click next, and then you will select for which member states you have already made the payment. So let's select these three, and we click done. We can repeat this because maybe I have different details for another country. So I give the description of the fees that have been paid for these countries. I click next, and now I select a different country, like so. If I realize I've made a mistake, I can go back to either completely delete or simply go back to edit. Oh, I should have selected also that. Back, and it's updated. So down here, you can see the countries that I've selected for the payment, and then I can select the countries that I haven't paid yet. So here I would indicate the details for the payment, the VAT number, the billing address. So you can select an organization. Of course, you would perform a search, but to save time, I won't do that. You add the PO number. You can add details, contact details for the payment, and then you would select the country for which these details apply. And again, you can repeat this as many times as needed. You can edit or you can delete. So that's how simple it is. In some cases, for example, if it is a centrally authorized application, you wouldn't have the section applicable for certain procedure types. I won't show that now because this scenario kind of shows it. But if the proof of payment section is visible and you don't want to show it at all, you simply delete the section by clicking here the trash pin, and the whole section will go away. So that's how you would do it. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, let's go back to questions. We can take a couple more. So I still see the MAH as inactive, even though it's updated in OMS XEVMPD. How can this be resolved?
Yes, this is one of those very unfortunate situations, probably where we have, as I mentioned, we have some issues with the OMS data that is in this intermediate data layer, what we called Iris Dataverse. That same Iris Dataverse doesn't currently allow for versioning. So you can't have the same organization data there multiple times. And there may be other processes, for example, parallel distribution or orphans or inspections that are using that same organization for a different purpose. So those updates are not reflected in Iris Database. What we have done in the eAF today, in the proposed section of the present and proposed, you can already select data directly from OMS. We are now, as I mentioned earlier in the session, we are also adding an ability to select the data for reference MAH directly from OMS. So we are implementing workarounds to address some of the blockers that we have. Of course, we as a regulator are looking at the OMS codes and the lock ID and the org ID. We know if they are correct in OMS. If then the form shows an inactive label for some of those organizations, you can normally indicate that in the in the application cover letter. But we are trying to work as a let's say on a wider scale of not just to solve that for eAF, but also fully solve it for all processes and products that are using data from Iris Dataverse.
Thank you. Next one, can we still have a PP table as annex if the information is too much to be pasted into the web-based eAF?
Yes, it is possible to add present and proposed details in a separate annex. Of course, if possible, we recommend using the present and proposed fields, where we have been now working on making it much more user-friendly. But we understand there can be cases where the data just simply cannot be included in there. So of course, this is always an option. Just also maybe note, we are moving towards structured data. This well, the next quarter, which starts tomorrow, we will be actually working on structured data, but those changes will not be implemented into the production yet this year. But this is something that hopefully in future you will be able to indicate some of the changes as a structured data changes. And in those cases, we of course always recommend using the actual fields in the eAF. But until then, and even after that, it is possible to use Annex.
Thank you, Christina. Maybe we'll take this last one. Not all the MAs approved under single DCP are same MAH are visible under the product selection. How to request for the product database update?
So normally, if a product is missing, it means that it is not in XEVMPD, So I would always recommend to check that the entry is correct in XCVMPD. It could be that it's there, but there's a small typo in the product number or name, and it then appears as a different medicinal product. I have seen that quite a bit. But if you're not quite sure what has happened, of course, please raise a ticket to PMS for investigation why the product is not available.
Okay, you were super quick, so we'll take another one. In some cases, data such as list of CMS product name and MA number, pack size are available in the PMS portal, but not accessible in the eAF portal. Please advise on how to resolve this issue.
It would be really good to have some examples. I know that, for example, for the products from Denmark, because how the products appear in the EAF is simply showing what is the full name in the SPC. If the SPC full name is simply the product name and the company name, that is exactly what will appear in the EAF. We cannot add additional information because we have to follow what is in the SPC. But if you have a case like this, please do send us a ticket with as much information, with details, ideally screenshot from PMS and screenshot from EAF, and we can then investigate what could be the issue.
Thank you very much, Christina. Okay, I'll stop here sharing just to go back to the slides for a second to give you the closing steps. In the meantime, please do join the Slido and fill out the feedback poll because that really helps us shape future webinars for you.
Indeed. Thank you, Isabella. So let's have a look at our next steps. So just to highlight, we have one more Q&A clinic scheduled. It is on the 9th of October. You can find the link for the event page from this presentation, which we will, of course, make available in the PLM portal. You can find all these recordings from different training sessions and Q&A sessions using the links from the event page. So that is all already happened. And of course, in the view of the upcoming changes, so for example, when we have the new version of the variation classification guideline, we will probably organize a training session to explain anything specific related to that. So there will be additional sessions potentially later this year and of course again next year. So but if you have any questions, you know how to contact us. You can always raise a query. I think we have a slide on how to contact us, but even before contacting us, we always recommend, please do read the user guide. Do review our published Q&A document where we have already answered to a lot of questions. So we have here the link to the PLM portal. We have a link to the eSubmissions website where you can also find the Q&A document in a PDF format. There are a lot of training videos. We try and keep this up to date and add new short videos as often as we can. There is the user guide, which is the kind of the navigation guide on how to use the application form. And as mentioned earlier, we have a very detailed Q&A document with a lot of information. We have the news and of course the PLM newsletter. And we always recommend to subscribe to that so you can get latest news, not only on eAF, but also on other EMA value stream products. And here is a slide showing how to raise a technical issue. So when you do come across an issue, please take a moment to reflect, is this a data issue? If it's a data issue, raise a ticket for PMS data. If it's an eAF technical issue, then raise an incident for the eAF. If you have a request for a new feature, you can then contact us via email. I think we don't need to look at that slide. I think there is nothing new to add. And we are at the end of this session. So I would like to thank you all very much for your participation today. And we look forward to hearing your feedback and seeing you back in our future Q&A and training sessions. Thank you.